guests that'll be coming our way. I'm not even going to go there though right now, but maybe at the end of the meeting, if time permits. But just really be looking forward to not only Nick Devine being with us next Thursday, but in January. Then we're going to be off for a couple of weeks, coming back in January. I believe it's on the 9th. And but the Lord is just bringing those who He wants to speak into our lives.
Yes.
And I just really encourage you to be here if you can. I wanted just to share a little bit with you something that the Lord shared with me just a few days ago. He said, weeping may endure for a season, but joy comes in the morning. I think we're familiar with that scripture. You know, pressing comes out of sorrow, hardships, trials, persecutions. As we submit to Him, and we keep Him first and submit ourselves to Him in the midst of our hardship, and let His peace keep us and sustain us. Out of pressure comes brokenness. And out of weakness comes strength. From the crushing of the rose comes fragrance, and the pressing of the grape comes wine. And by fire, chaff is burned. And this is why we can praise God in the midst of our difficulties. You know, the Bible tells us that all things are going to work together for good for us, to them who love God and are called according to His purpose. And Paul even said that we know that our light affliction, which is but for a moment, works for us a more exceeding and eternal weight of glory. Praise God. You know, Brother Ron is one of the most humble men of God that I know. And I know that a lot of that and a lot of the power of the Holy Spirit in his life today is because of brokenness. Boy, I just really sense that in the Spirit. But out of that brokenness, he has a lot to give.
Amen.
You know, and the Lord just really impressed upon me that, you know, God doesn't want our strength. You know, sometimes we think, you know, we try to be strong, try to be macho, try to be tough. But God doesn't want your strength. He wants your weakness. He doesn't want our willpower. He wants our submission. He doesn't want our ability. He wants our inability. So that His ability can be made manifest in us. God doesn't want our wisdom and our human reasoning. He wants our trust and the simplicity of faith in Him. He doesn't want our pride and our arrogance. He wants our humility. And He says, you know, in our weakness, His strength is made perfect. Praise God. Amen. Hallelujah. That's what I see in my brother Ron. And I thank the Lord for sending him and Anna and our friends today all the way from Marysville. They've come a long way to be with us. And brother, we're just looking forward. I know there are just many, many here who have never heard what God did in your life. So bring your testimony and whatever else the Lord wants to lay on your heart. But can we just say thank you and give on a hand?
I'm going to bring my friends up. My friends came to shout to minister with us up in Yuba City area. And we just had a pretty cool deal happen in our hearing house up there. And I came in right after they prayed, so I didn't get to see that. You guys all got to pray. It had nothing to do with me. It does. It always has something to do with Him. It has everything to do with Him. everything I say isn't a testimony about me, it's a testimony about Jesus Christ.
Amen. Amen. Praise God.
All I could do is go be buried in a grave somewhere is my testimony. And have a headstone placed there, people that love me. Instead, God said, I love you enough and I took enough for you. See, healing was already paid for. We got a receipt in our pocket that says we already purchased that. We got a receipt that says it's been purchased for us, and we need to lay that receipt down and claim it.
Come on.
If you don't go in and claim it, you won't get it. See, miracles always you have to manage a miracle. It's nice to get a miracle. People always say, and everyone say, I want to see a miracle. I don't see anyone going around saying, I want to be the one needing the miracle. But for every miracle, you'll see someone had to need a miracle. And had to be crying out. And God come to meet that miracle. And then you got to steward what God does with that miracle. And then you get to see it come down and take life and do what it's supposed to do. So, but I want them to come up and just explain what happened with that, because I think it's just a cool deal. Just give you some courage. Encouragement special.
I'm James, this is my wife Michelle. I just want to give you a brief testimony for myself, because I think it may apply to somebody else in this room. I grew up in church, and I feel like I grew up in a bubble, because I never heard about the supernatural. I never saw people praying for miracles. I never saw any miracles. If we ever prayed for something and it happened, we went, wow, what a coincidence. We prayed and something happened. That's cool. So that's where I grew up. We were never involved in any kind of miracle ministries. We never saw supernatural or anything growing up. It was not until a few years ago that our daughter brought a video home, and it was showing all of these cool miracles happening around the world, and the light went on for me at that point, because I realized, hey, I grew up in church, and if God's moving and He's doing all this cool stuff now, I did not want to miss out. I don't want to live the rest of my life and miss out on what God's doing. So the last 5 years, we've been involved in our church has a set aside weekend for prayer ministry for healing. So we've been involved in what they call it Bethesda Healing Wells, and we're learning to step out and grow in it, and learning to step out and grow in it. Well, a couple of weeks ago, we were leaving the church parking lot, and a couple of the ladies that I didn't met them yet, were there by one of the housing units, and one of them was gimpy. She's got a crutch. So we stopped and get out, hey, what's going on? So she told us that she had a sciatic issue and stuff. So, well, let's pray, because we had a couple of other girls there that were brand new believers. So we prayed for her, and the Lord loosened things up, and the pain went away. So she started walking out. She's walking fine. It's like, cool. Next. So we bring another girl over, and her name was Irita. And first day we met her, and we were asking, what do you think about what just happened here? And she's telling, I believe that healing can happen and stuff. I said, well, this is normal Christianity. This is nothing unusual. This is what all of us are supposed to be doing. I said, now have a seat here. Tell us what's going on. And she was having a migraine, and she's telling about her history with migraine and stuff. So we took hands and we prayed with her. And after a few minutes, the migraine started letting up, and she was squeezing her hands, and we were getting tighter and tighter because the migraine was getting worse at first. And then boom, it broke. So, thank you, Lord. Okay, now what's next? What do you need? And she said, well, I was in a horrible car accident, and this was 20 years ago or whatever, a long time ago, and I'm missing my collarbone on one side. So I said, cool, let's get a new collarbone for you. So we prayed, Lord, let's grow Irita a brand new collarbone. And that was it. We left and went, and then Michelle saw her a week later.
So actually it wasn't a week, it was just a couple days later. It was pretty cool because she comes running up to me and she's like, I've got a collarbone. And I'm like, huh? And and she was like all excited, and she's like, feel. And what he didn't tell you is that when we were praying, she was like, here, feel this. And so she's having me feel, she's like, feel this one on this side, got the collarbone up here. So she had me feel, and it's like, there's not the bone there that you're supposed to feel. There was like, you know, something kind of here, a little broken type thing or whatever. It was just kind of like, it was not right what was there and stuff like this. So she comes up to me at church and she's like, I've got a collarbone. And so she said, and so I felt it, and it's like, it was there. It wasn't as big as the other one, but it was there. She says, it wasn't this big the other day. It's been growing. And she says, every day it gets bigger. And I've seen her since then and felt it again, and it's even bigger and stuff. And she was having to be on, she was trying to get off of pain meds for her migraines, which were like consistently bugging her and stuff like this. And she came back and said, you know, not only did it break that day, but she hasn't had any more. So it was just like, and the thing that was so cool, I mean, all of that's so cool. But a couple of things that are really cool is she's like fresh out of our jail ministry and stuff. And it's just like you get these gals that are, you know, like out of jail, and it's like you give them this hope and stuff. It's like, I would encourage you to get involved in your jail ministries because it is just absolutely amazing. And I just applaud you for being involved in that and everything. Because it's like they've hit the bottom of the bottom, and they're like, you know, they're hungry. They're hungry. They're open. And they're also bored sitting in jail. So it's like, they come and they're like, okay, this is better than sitting in our thing, you know, let's come to a class or whatever. And it's like, they're open. And it's just like, it's just very easy to talk to them, and they're hungry, and the fact that you just come and love on them and stuff is just awesome and stuff. But yeah, the other thing that Ron had just talked about, and I don't know if you want to share about planting a seed, or if you want me to tell you the tiny bit that you told me and possibly get it wrong. If I get it wrong, you fix it. He was talking about, you know, healing being, it can all, you know, you can have the immediate thing where you, all right, you know, you bring down the healing right then, and sometimes it's planting a seed that grows, and that's exactly what we saw with Irita, is like we planted a seed and it grew later, and I love the way he could put that, because he was just telling me about that on the way, just a few minutes ago actually, and it was like, it just clicked to me that it's like, to not withdraw your faith when you pray over someone and you don't see it immediately. Don't pull back your faith of, oh, it didn't work. Because it's like, no, we just planted a seed. It may not have grown right now, but we just planted a seed to just stand on that faith and not pull your faith back.
Yeah, that's good.
I'm glad God sent me to worship with them people. And we were looking for a church because we moved to a new area, and so we knew their church, and we were just attending at some, especially on Saturday nights, because usually I was gone somewhere on Sunday. There's something going on, a lot of traveling. So we asked the pastors, do you think you guys could pray for us when we go travel the world? Like, we're getting ready to go to South Australia for a long time, and we need some good prayer covering. So they said, yeah, we want you to share your testimony. First have Anna share it, and then you can share. And when I shared, they brought in our ordination papers to make us pastors of that church. So I was like, okay. So I guess we're really part of their church. So, but it really works, so I'm glad we have them. But we just had a really cool miracle in our family. I'm going to have my wife come and share that.
Good to see you.
I'm so blessed that she's here. She has me. I had the best time in Australia because I had the best ministry partner.
I was so excited to be able to come today. I've missed you guys. So my daughter, my youngest daughter, has been pregnant with twins. And I'm going to tell you kind of the long version of the story because there's a lot to it. 6 years ago, she lost a baby Alex, and it was right about her birthday, November 16th. She was in the hospital knowing that she was going to give birth to a baby that was already gone. And she was 8 months pregnant at the time, and it was devastating for her. And I walked with her through that process, praying with her. But she lost that baby. When she found out she was pregnant, when her first visit to her doctor, that doctor had also walked with her through that. And when the doctor told her she was having twins, the way she said it was double for your trouble. And I felt like that was really God speaking to Tina, my daughter, that he was not replacing, but it was double for her trouble. A double portion blessing with these twins. And so our family was ecstatic that she was pregnant again. One, because she had been afraid, to have another baby, understandably. And watched with great expectancy as the belly grew and all of that. And things were going really well. She had a little rough patch about her 6th month where she started having some contractions, but we prayed, everything settled down. She seemed to be doing fine. She had actually just gotten a really good report at the beginning of November from her doctor saying, you're doing so well, the baby's weight is really good, they're healthy heartbeats, you're going to be able to deliver at your local hospital like you've wanted to. She lives up in Placerville. And there's no NICU or anything like that at that hospital, and her doctor felt like there was not going to be any need for any of that. So we were all really celebrating that last doctor's visit she had had. Well, at our church, we had a man come from India to minister, and he ministers prophetically and teaches, but the way that he ministers, I'll give you one instance. While he was ministering on a Saturday evening at our church, he called out a number. He wrote it down on a piece of paper. It was like 10-digit number. And he said, and then he spoke to this one woman who was sitting near the front and said, does this number mean anything to you? And she said, no, can't think of anything that number would mean. He prayed for a minute and he says, is it possibly your passport number? And she said, oh my gosh, I never have my passport with me, but it's right here in my purse. Let me look. She pulled out her passport, and it was her passport number.
Wow.
And he proceeded then to speak to her about a lot of other very significant things in her life. So he had that kind of prophetic gift where he was very precise, and as he had been ministering at the church, it was very evident that he was speaking very accurately in what he was, when he prophesied over people. Well, a friend of mine was hosting him. Her name's Katrina, and Katrina called me and said, Anna, I have to tell you something. Because she and I prayed together, and she had prayed with me when there had been that little bit of preterm labor for the babies. So, she had been praying with me with these twins. And I have to tell you something. The prophet this morning told me that I need to give you a message, and the way that he said it, he asked me, do you have a friend named Anna who goes to church with you? And Katrina said, yes, I do. You need to tell her that there's been an assignment of death against somebody close to her and their family, and it has to do with a birth. But that assignment has been canceled.
Thank you, Lord.
She shared this with me, and there was nothing on the horizon to speak of a problem like that. Everything had been going smoothly. But I took that and I held on to it. I stored it in my heart and I prayed over it. A week later, I'm at work and my daughter calls me just frantic. It was a Friday afternoon. She says, Mom, my doctor just called me. They ran some test that they just got the results. And she's telling me that these babies may be born stillborn because of something that's happening in my body. And I have to go straight to UC Davis right now. It came out of the blue, but God had already spoken. God had already spoken from heaven and said, this is canceled. I went and met her at UCD. I met her at the front door before she could even walk into that place where they were going to speak death over these babies. I was with her, and we walked in together, and I stayed with her that day, that night. The next day I went home for a shower, but all I could tell her is, baby, you're going to be fine, and these babies are going to be fine. You just have to know that, because she was so terrified, and it was her birthday. the following day.
Oh, wow.
And for her, the trauma of what she had been through with baby Alex being repeated on her birthday, it's like the devil knows just where to hit you. He's so cruel. And I was so angry to watch my baby go through this. And I'll tell you, that word that you gave, Virgie, the power of praise, the power of prayer, and the power of love. I love my daughter and I love those babies. I praised God as I was running down the road to UC Davis. I was singing to God because I knew He had already canceled this. And throughout this process, because there was a process, I was praising Him every chance I got. There's a song about God being a miracle worker, a promise keeper.
Yes.
Amen. And that's the song that just kept rising up in my spirit.
Yes.
And I kept singing that song to Him, knowing that He was going to do this. And in the midst of it, there was a verse that God gave me out of Hebrews chapter 11. This is the evidence of things not seen. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. I hoped for those babies to be fine because I knew my God and I knew what He had spoken in advance. And I held on to that, and I held on to that with my daughter. And Saturday, after I left, I went to the healing well and we prayed together there. And I left there and I went into that hospital room and I laid my hands on that belly and I just let it loose. I was not having it. And I prayed for those babies. I prayed for their lungs to be developed. I prayed for their birth weight. I prayed that they would not have jaundice because those were the things that the doctors were speaking. The doctors were saying, well, if they survive, you're probably going to have a C-section. They're probably going to be in the NICU for a month because their lungs won't work. They'll have horrible jaundice. And they're listing all this horrible stuff. And every word was canceled. It's canceled. This is canceled. This is canceled. Heaven has spoken. This is canceled. She held those babies until the following Wednesday, which was her 36-week mark, and they induced labor. Those babies came out naturally, 10 minutes apart. Their birth weight was 6 pounds and 5.5 pounds. Their APGAR scores were off the charts, wonderful. And they went home after 2 days with no NICU. They're doing fantastic. They were born on November 20th, and they still have had no jaundice. One of the things that God really taught me through the process, it's a reminder, but it's been cemented in me through that experience, is that when God gives you a word, when God gives you a word, whether it's a prophetic word that's spoken from a man of God, or whether it's a word that He gives you out of the scripture, where it's a rhema word to your heart, when God gives you a word, that is your receipt. You take it to heaven and you cash it in. And there's people in this room, I've known a lot of you for a lot of years, and I know there's words that God has spoken to you. There's things that God has put in your heart that you haven't seen it come to pass yet. I'm encouraging you, pull those receipts out of the drawer and take them to the bank of heaven. Amen?
I'll tell you about a miracle that happened at Walmart. Yeah, you've heard I've been visiting in prison jail since 1975. And last night we had a meeting at the jail with the inmates, and we anointed each girl with oil and prayed for her, and bondages were broken. But what really excites me is it's not only just about moving in prison jail. He's moving in Walmart. Right. I'm connected with photography, And so the people in the photo department know me pretty well. One day I walked in the Walmart in Jackson, and this clerk, photo clerk, was in one of the aisles. It was not by the photo department. And I told him, you look kind of pale. Is everything okay? He looked really pale. I said, you look kind of pale. Is everything okay? And he pulls up his shirt, and he has stitches all down his belly. And he said, the doctor just told me, I just came from the doctor, from the hospital, they told me I had a mass in my body. I grabbed his hands and prayed for him right in a Walmart, in the aisle. And then I let him go, and he brought me back to his station. And a couple of days later, I went back to the photo department, and his co-worker said, you prayed for Dan, didn't you? You prayed for Dan. I said, yes. She said, he came in, when you prayed for him, he came running back to the photo department, and he said, this lady, she prayed for me. She prayed for me. Now I have hope. Now I have hope. Okay? And 3 months later, he was back on the job working. And first I walked in there, when he was back on the job, he grabbed my hands. He said, when you prayed for me in that aisle of Walmart, he said, I felt like my body was lifted 2 feet off the ground. 2 feet off the ground. And God has healed him.
Amen.
God has healed him. So it don't matter whether you're in jail or at Walmart or at Kmart or Target or 7-Eleven. God is on the move.
Amen.
God is on the move.
We start talking about all the hymns, we'd be here till next week. I'm telling you. I've seen so many thousands of hymns, and it cracks me up. People tell me, we didn't believe what happened to you. I'm like, that's okay. You're not going to argue with this. No, you believe it or not, I don't care. I'll tell you the truth. You can believe truth or you can not believe the truth. That's how it works in this world. You can read the truth and believe it, or you can read it and not. You can read it where it says that you cheer yourself up. We make ourselves happy by praying to Jesus. And we make our house. We make ourselves happy by believing what He says and not what the world says. See, when that was happening to our little grandsons, not one report came back good. Not one. Nobody said, well, they're going to die, but if they do live, they'd have this anyway, and this and this. But no one was saying that. I'm probably going to take out your daughter, too, who was worried that she might die. That's what she told me. So, when you watch God and you watch what He does in so many ways, and I'm telling you, I've seen so many things. That one waiter, our old restaurant there, he come with the torn Achilles tendon. He was an only waiter, and he had stubbed his toe the night before and broke his toe and tore the toenail off. And during the middle of the meeting, God healed his Achilles tendon and put his toenail back on, and healed his broken toe. He said, I want to give you all the tips I got. I said, you really don't need to give me anything, but if you want a blessing from God, I'll take what you're going to give me if God put that on your heart. Well, I got to tell you something. You don't owe me nothing. It's about Him. He's the healer. Amen. He is the healer. So when you start seeing, you see where you go in prayer. I pray everyone gets some experiences like that where you got to go in and see a little girl just ready to turn 3 that they just declared dead in Children's Hospital and be able to go in and pray and watch God blow back into her and watch the little girl sit up and see how hungry she is. Yeah. And be able to give her back to that family. Just because you got to be there is God's hope in the midst of it. See, we are God's hope to this world.
Amen. Yes, sir. Come on.
See, I'm telling you that. I'm just saying this day that Finney wrote years ago. He wrote that we all pray for revival, but revival's not held back because there's a lot of sin in the world. The revival's held back because we don't have enough flame inside of us.
Come on.
One reason this world isn't getting more healings and more salvation is we aren't flamed up enough. We want to start complaining about, all this is bad and leaders are bad, and we just need to say, our God's bigger.
Yeah.
Our God is bigger. I do a lot of motorcycle ministry. I was just saying to my friends about twice crazy outlaw biker gangs have sent hitmen for me. That's serious stuff. That's no little deal. There's some people just flat hate you for the Jesus in you. That stirs up their demons. They sent literally hitmen to get me. God held that one down, didn't he? Till he got Jesus. So you got to know who's bigger. You're going around. Satan only gets power from us when we make him bigger. And we start giving him power. We start giving him power, then he can hold our healing back. He can hold this back. He can control this over here. But he doesn't. Our God owns it all. I'm telling you, miracles come with responsibility. What are you going to do with it? You're going to believe it the first time? I've seen crazy miracles. I remember one boy I prayed for. His leg grew out 8 to 12 inches. It wasn't like a little shorter like you see these people that are grabbing around and you can pull it. I mean, his leg was like 8 to 12 inches shorter. This little boy, his leg grew out 12 inches. You just might notice that. He had a 6-inch bow in his little back. God took the bow out. He had frozen joints. I mean, his joints didn't work. They moved once and he ended up in the hospital for 6 months. This little boy's laying on the floor, and I'm in this church, and they don't even like me in that church. And one of my friends she's from Scotland, and she said, could you just come and pray for me? I'm like, they don't like me over at that church. I don't know why. I don't know what I did, but for some reason, they don't even like me there. But I'll come and I'll just say, look, I'm here. I'm not to cause problems. Do you mind if I just sit in back and pray for my friend? We're in there begging him. They said, okay, as long as he stays in the back and prays, he's fine. So I'm back there praying, and I'm watching him pray for this little boy who's all wiped out. And Catherine keeps saying, can we have Ron come pray? Nope. So they're up front and they're praying and praying. Everyone's going there anointing this boy, his head with oil, his head with oil, his head with oil. And I keep hearing the Holy Spirit say, I just want to anoint his feet. No one's listening. I'm up there telling everyone up front, just please anoint his feet with oil. And so it's gone on about an hour. They're doing all this stuff, and they keep going back and praying for this little boy. Finally, my friend says, can he please come? So what do you think I did? Anoint his feet with oil. Boom! Things start popping around. The bowl goes down his back. Because I was listening for what God said to do. God's always looking for someone that's listening for what he wants to do in his way. Then the little boy moved his leg, and then he got scared. He goes, oh, Dad, oh, Dad. I said, what's wrong? He said, last time he moved his leg, he had to go to the hospital for 6 months because his joints are frozen. I said, not anymore. You want to jump up and run. The little boy jumped up and started running all around the church and around his life. So you want to see, just listen for what God's doing. He's all over. He's saying, I've got a word for this person over there to release their heart forever. If you just go give them that one word. Sometimes only one word. God's looking still for people to go, hey, watch this, I got this word for you. And sometimes it's weird. I had that weird word that released the lady for life. The word was cat. Now, I don't know about you, but that doesn't sound very spiritual. Cat.